Welcome back! Now, what is a cross between Norway and Papua New Guinea? You will soon find out as I fly over a rugged and remote wilderness, landing at a strip right up against the mountainsides that is enlisted with any known governmental entity. The answer is, of course, Canada. Alright, this time I'll be doing something a little different. I'll be flying in the Pacific Fjords FTX region, but not at any payware airport. Besides the fact that no payware airports are yet available in P3D for Pacific Fjords, what I really want to do is hit a backcountry strip. Pacific Fjords was the second of ORBX's North American sceneries to be released. It is also one of the easiest areas in the world for simulator performance, simply because there is nothing in the way of a major city in the entire FTX region. And no, Sandspit does not count. Ketchikan, Terrace, and Prince Rupert are probably the biggest urban centers, but that's not really saying very much. So, Pacific Fjords is the original Fjordland in the ORBX universe, predating New Zealand, South Island, and Norway by years. We are now over the Dean Channel on an easterly course, and up ahead is King Island. We took off a little while ago from Bella Bella in the Central Coast region of British Columbia, and will be landing, I hope in one piece, at the Kwatna River airstrip, about 34 miles east. An unlisted airstrip, by the way. Kwatna River is actually on the mainland of BC. My whip is the redoubtable A2A C182 Skylane. This time with a special paint from Maloney from the A2A forums. Charlie Golf Uniform Romeo Sierra. So let's hit the backcountry as softly as possible. And here we are, leaving King Island behind to cross the Burke Channel. The terrain you see up ahead is actually mainland, but that doesn't mean more civilized. Anything but, actually. I lucked out with the weather today. It's January, yet temperatures were up around 8 degrees Celsius and no precipitation, which is kind of unusual for this area in the winter. One major difference between Kwatna River and places like Ifogi and Kagi is that Kwatna River is near sea level, so the air will be nice and thick. Unfortunately, there is a mountain to the right, virtually blocking a straight-in approach. One must skirt to the left of the mountain and essentially turn to base at the threshold. Great. There is very little crosswind today, however, so that'll be good. As with concrete, in order to prevent a snowscape of hard winter textures, I did set the date in P3D for 31 December. I'm running live weather, so it really is about 8 degrees up there today. Because the Pacific Fjords region is so remote, I'm actually able to run a higher set of settings in P3D, having bumped vegetation autogen up to very dense, mesh up to 1 meter, and water to ultra. Doing so does add a dynamic effect to water at low altitudes. Unfortunately, it is still not very realistic looking, and at the end of the video I'll have a couple clips showing the water up close and what it looks like in a river setting. In addition to the overdone Fresnel effect in the water shaders, which creates black inky water at certain viewing angles, the water surface, whether 2D or 3D, still leaves much to be desired. When we're on short final, you will see the water in the Kwatna River fairly close and can see the water effect. Unfortunately, although it may be cool looking in some ways, it is definitely not realistic. Here you can see the strip almost dead ahead. I'm not coming straight in because one can see the mountain in the way on the right side. The river itself makes a nice path to descend through the trees and leads you straight to the runway threshold where you can quickly turn to base and touch down. The runway rises in this direction, so one has to be careful when landing not to have the nose wheel contact first. I tried this approach once before, but my fuel load was so low that I ended up floating with a 60-knot full flaps approach, i.e. too fast. I was barely able to get the plane down before the end of the runway. If you overrun, you will go down a steep hill into the river, so try and avoid that. This time I have a healthier fuel load and was able to get the plane touching down in an expeditious manner. Wind is about 20 degrees left of runway heading, but only about 4 knots, so really not too much of a factor, and not nearly as much as having to come in between the trees and turning so late. And here, as you pass over the river, you can get a little shot of the 3D water. It's hard to tell as we're scooting over like that, but when you see the clips at the end of the film, you'll be able to see how there's actually 3D waves undulating over the surface. And touchdown. Crowd goes wild. Here are some clips of the Kwatna River with P3D's 3D water. Notice the swells moving along the river, frankly looking quite strange. Here is another view looking downstream. Well, I hope you enjoyed our backcountry trip in beautiful British Columbia. If you liked what you saw, please hit like, and as always, don't forget to subscribe. Au revoir and go Hawks!